We have officially entered Halloween season, so it's time to talk about some indie horror games. My name is Lile, welcome to Lile's Indie Corner. What are your favorite chilling games to play during October? Here are my picks for this year. Quick disclaimer before we start, there will be some very graphic imagery in this video, and the different games depict every uncomfortable topic you can imagine. If you are sensitive to this content, this might be the video to skip. I know I'm cheating a bit with this one, since Bramble the Mountain King definitely falls into the AA category. But I had so much fun playing it, I wanted it to be on the list. For the last boss fight music alone. Honestly, one of the best interpretations of a classical piece in video game history. I had a blast during that fight. But anyway, Bramble focuses on the story of Ole, who wakes up one night and finds his sister Lile gone from their bedroom. And of course, he ventures into the woods to find her. What starts as a rather calm and beautiful journey very quickly becomes a bloody romp through Nordic folklore. In typical Limbo fashion, you need to stealth, run and jump your way through different levels and try to stay alive. Which is easier said than done, and you will die many times over trying to escape from the horrors that follow you around. They didn't animate all those grisly deaths for nothing, you know. Unlike Limbo, you're doing it in 3D environments though. I was especially impressed by the visuals and the variety of scenery throughout Bramble. They are really putting their budget to good use. It can be brilliantly gorgeous when they bring the polish, and depressingly terrifying when it wants to put the fear of the indie game overlords into you. It also does not shy away from absolutely gruesome scenes. There's a lot of blood and gore and murder and desperation in this game. I'm pretty sure Ole and Lile will have their therapy sessions cut out for them. That's one childhood trauma, I tell you. But if you love getting eaten by a troll, blasted into oblivion by a mermaid, or just get your soul sucked out by whatever this creature is, Bramble the Mountain King is your game for October. What's better than playing a horror game alone? Exactly, playing it with friends. Hi, Nayuki. Hi. 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 Phasmophobia made a big bloody splash when it went into early access back in 2020. And it spawned a whole plethora of copycat games. And you know you have a winner on your hands when other people try to profit off of your concept. Phasmophobia is heavily inspired by all the modern ghost hunting shows, because that's exactly what you do. Hunting ghosts. It makes noises in my ear, I hate this! Either alone or with friends, and really it's much more fun with friends. You grab any number of ghost hunting tools and off you go. You will need to measure room temperature, ruin people's floors with salt, or run away terrified when the EMF meter goes off. I'm running! No! Help me! Help me! You might also find bones and even snap a selfie with the ghostie. Be aware though, your presence will anger the deceased, and it might happen that suddenly you are the one being hunted. And yes, you can and will die. That's the fun part, really, hearing your friends roam about the house, going about their business, then suddenly a bone-chilling scream and silence. And then you find their hilariously contorted bodies lying around. You can also go it alone, which definitely makes it scarier. And if you really want to get into the mechanics and learn how to play Phasmophobia well, that's the route to take. But really, we don't play this to be good at it. We just want to hear our friends scream and laugh together about the whole thing afterwards. A Halloween bonding experience. Oh, and get a cat. What? In 2023, the game is still in early access, but the devs remain devoted, implementing improvements, new gadgets, and ghosts all the time. They even improved on the graphics, and it now has a progression system where your level unlocks more powerful tools. So it's still an all-around banger for the scariest month of the year. If you're into thrillers with a creepy undertone, boy do I have the game for you. Loretta starts off at a decrepit house sitting in the Midwest in the 1940s. A car approaches, a man exits looking for Mr. Harris, Loretta's husband. She tells him she doesn't know where he is, and through conversation takes him into the yard, where a well is the centerpiece. The man asks again if she knows where her husband might have gone off to. Behind his back, Loretta raises a shovel. Yes, you play the murderer in this game, and I personally think that's a wonderful twist that I haven't seen done a lot. Surely there are games in which you find out at the end you were the bad guy all along and such, but really letting the player know from the get-go that there is no way you get a happy ending was a brilliant thing to do. At its core, Loretta is a choose-your-own-adventure title where you get a bit of a say in who will be left alive by the end of the game. And of course, you get different endings depending on what you did. The overall tone is very dark and adult. There are reasons for why Loretta does what she does, and you get a good look into her psyche and her current state of mind. This isn't a silly, well, she's just crazy tale. Backstory matters in Loretta, and I for one enjoyed that immensely. What makes this game so creepy is A, the good writing that really focuses on characters and gives each and every one a different personality, and B, the excellent use of cinematic pixel art. At times you feel like you're watching a movie. It's so effective. I hope the gameplay footage I chose here gives you an idea of how creative Loretta is, even if the concept isn't new. So, grab this one if you want to know how Loretta's story ends. Thank you to my wonderful editor, the Potato Witch. For something completely different, Killer Frequency is a first-person puzzling game that takes a much more humorous approach to the horror genre. And who doesn't love a good horror comedy? You play as Forrest Nash, a late-night radio show host who isn't all that happy about being stuck in a tiny town when he had dreams of making it big in the city. His laments are cut short when news about the Whistling Man reaches the show. He's a local legend and a serial killer. And of course he returns on Halloween night when not everyone takes the threat seriously.
I want cheese-dusted pretzels!
Goddamn kids.
And when the only emergency phone operator leaves town to get help, it's up to Forrest and producer Peggy to answer emergency phone calls and save the people of Gallows Creek from the Whistling Man. There are some very creative puzzles to solve and creepy hallways to traverse. It also offers a lot of replay value because you might not be able to save everyone on your first playthrough. I had an absolute blast with Killer Frequency because the mechanics worked well and I loved the puzzles. But the story was also intriguing and the whole absurdity of the situation made it work in the best way possible. There's nothing more hilarious than listening to someone being brutally murdered 1 second. And the next you're listening to a happy track, because this is a radio show and it must go on!
Well, listeners, while Peggy and I deliberate, here's a track for all you lovers out there.
The interactions between Peggy and Forrest are also excellent, not to mention all the people calling into the show. The voice acting is superb and the characters are just the right kind of over the top. I think this one might be a game I dust off every couple of years just to experience it again, even when I already know all the answers, because it's just that good. If on this Halloween you're in the mood for something more on the fun side of things, definitely grab Killer Frequency. This can even be entertaining with friends when you try to solve the puzzles together. Probably the most classic horror game on this list, at the #1 spot we have Signalis, a survival horror game and an homage to the old Resident Evil and Silent Hill titles. You play as Elster, waking up alone on a ship with no memory of where your companion went and no knowledge of where you are. So off you go to a nearby facility where you soon discover you aren't alone. Monsters roam the hallways, machines like you who have lost their minds. But then there are some still sane you can talk to. But do they really have your best interest at heart? To be honest, I couldn't really tell you what the story of the game is, even if I tried. And I actually watched some videos on it and read some explanations. It's all wrapped up in metaphor and confusing time shenanigans and dream worlds and all that kind of stuff. I don't think you walk away from Signalis having a good idea of what happened, but I also don't think you need to. This is one of those games that needs interpreting, and it's your own story you experience along the way. It's intriguing and carries a melancholy and sadness that really hit me. There are some things everyone agrees on though. That it's totally gay, for example. Always a bonus for me. The mechanics are very solid. The puzzles are obscure but still logical, the shooting is terrifyingly frantic, and you are often better off not wasting ammo and just trying to run by, like in good old horror survival fashion. The boss fights are hard but satisfying, and the exploration is creepy. The pixel art is amazing, and the environments get scarier the further you go. And then there are these confusing first-person sections that make no sense to me but unnerve me, and what more do you want from a horror game? If you grew up with these kinds of games, or if you're someone who wants to experience a classic horror game but don't want to fight the controls at every point, Signalis is for you. And it's my horror game to play this October. If horror games aren't your thing, check out my top 5 of the best queer indie games. See you next time!